All right, once again, welcome to Moonbeam Manor. Today I'm going to show you how I turn regular styrofoam and make it look like wood planks. I'm building a wooden structure. We're supposed to be a wooden structure right now, and I'm using styrofoam. And this may be a little bit thicker than what you should really use, but just use what you feel necessary with. But I was going to show you how I make what looks like wooden planks. Things you'll need for this is a sharp knife, um, a wire brush, a straight edge. I'm using a T-square here. I think it's called T-square. Um, some paint brushes and some various paints. Depending on the size of your styrofoam, would greatly depend on how much paint you got to use. But yeah, so let's get started on it. Now, you want to take your knife and your straight edge and try to get, now you can cut these planks any way you want to. You can cut, make actual planks out of them, but what I like to do is try to keep the styrofoam together. Now I'm using this hot knife. Kids, get your parents' permission before using any sharp object, and especially these things, because these things get really hot and they can get hurt. But you can use your regular knife for this if you want to, and just give it a cut, one straight cut. Then maybe move it over just a bit. Well, you don't even need to use a T-square now. You can just come in at an angle. Sorry about the noise. And just kind of dig out that center there a bit. You don't have to be perfectly straight. Just gonna dig out your excess. Yep. Now, as you can see, this probably would actually have worked better had I just used the knife here. You would have melted the plastic so hard. But you'll learn. Now, as you can see, it kind of gives the idea that there's two planks. Then what you want to do is take your wire brush, and I apologize in advance because this is going to make an awful sound. Let me get a little bit more light on here. Here we go. And you want to take your wire brush and really kind of dig into it. You can't see that. But what this does, once you do that, as you can see, it kind of gives it sort of that wood grain look to it. And also, what I advise doing, see if I can get this to where it's on camera, it's kind of doing the edges a bit. Kind of like this. Go in at various degrees. Really kind of chew it up a bit. I should warn you, this will get very messy. Don't know how well, you can see that. You can see it like it looks like the frayed ends of a piece of wood. Then you're going to want to take, now depending on the color you want your wood to look, I'm just using some black paint here because I want it to make it look old. And you just paint your whole thing a black color, like this. Probably wouldn't hurt to have some water around to kind of water your paint down a bit, so you make sure it really gets into those cracks and crevices that you created with the wire brush. Now I'm just using the paints that I happen to have around the shop. So you can use any color paint you want, but like I said, I'm trying to go for this, old rotted wood kind of look. So I'm going with really a black base paint. Yeah, I'm not sure yet. You can maybe still see some of the grain in there. Kind of looks like a little bit of a wood grain, which is kind of what you're wanting. And you want to wait for that to dry. Now, push this back up. Now, once your plank has dried, you can start kind of adding some of the details. Right here I got this burnt umber acrylic paint. Again, if you got a really big project, you probably want to use some different paints, but this is what I got for now. Now, what you want to do here is get just a little bit on your brush and get a paper towel or something, kind of dry it off. You want to do a dry brushing. This will hopefully kind of give it that more of a wood look. Maybe I can use a little bit more paint. If you wanted to go for like a maybe more newer look for your wood or whatever, instead of using the black, you can use like some kind of brown paint or whatever color wood you're trying to match color to. Again, you may want to add some water to this to give it, so it get down in those cracks a bit, but I don't think it's that important on this step. But you just really want this on the surface. Kind of like this. Get that wood look going. And you wait for this to dry, and when that dry, you add your next layer of paint, which mine's going to be white, but you can use any color you want. So let's wait for this to dry. All right, once your next coat of paint is dried, I'm not sure how well you can see that. You could probably leave it like this, but what I'm doing is trying to make it look like it came off an old building, an old wooden building. And I'm not sure if I can use this. It feels really kind of dried up. Yeah, it's kind of dried. This may actually help out a lot. Not sure if you can really see that on camera. Not really sure if I want you to see that on camera. Anyways, get a little paint going there. And again, get your paper towel so you can dry it up a bit. This may not work well. And I think this particular acrylic paint's too old. It's not working out too bad, because I want it to look like it had been painted white at one point. Now you get those highlights in there. Maybe a little too much highlight there, so let's take my paper towel, try to wipe it off some. And kind of like, well, there you go. And we'll see how this looks when it dries. Now, after it is dried, it can probably look like something like this. Now, I did use a little too much white paint on it for my liking, but I'm not sure how well you can see that. But you can really pick up what's supposed to be the wood grain kind of going through it. And that's how I do like wooden planks for my haunted yard and making buildings. And you could use, you know, real wood planks and stuff, but yeah, wood has a tendency to be heavy. That's why I like using the foam, because it's lightweight. I can carry things around easier. And like, this is actually a very huge project. I've just got a couple of scrap pieces of foam that I did this on. So I would advise doing that, you know, getting some scrap foam and maybe doing some practice on it before you actually tackle your big project. So I'm going to see how this might look. Like I said, I think I felt like I used a little too much paint, white paint, so I'm going to use a bit more brown in here. We're going to see how this may look. Towel that blow away. Kind of wipe off the excess. And there you go. That's how I do wooden planks out of styrofoam. Go make something. Keep Halloween alive.